Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We had a darshan scheduled for this morning, someone to come and to give the sermon. Unfortunately, he has come down with the flu. David Kramer has come down with the flu, as many of us have over the last couple of weeks. So my apologies in advance, but you're stuck with me this morning. The job of a rabbi used to be that you would study, that you would learn, that you would be there for families. People would come and they would ask a lot of halakhic questions. Is it okay if I do this? How should I do this? Am I following Shabbat or am I breaking Shabbat if I do something this way? We've come a little ways since those days. And I'll give you an example, because this week my phone rang and the question I got, my rabbinic wisdom that was sought, was that I was asked to help translate a tattoo. Someone was getting a Hebrew tattoo. They wanted to make sure that everything was spelled correctly and the punctuation and everything was in place. So we could talk about the different ways that we could respond to this, but I thought that the tattoo itself was really interesting because they wanted to know how to say in Hebrew and how to make this a permanent part of their body to say, "This too shall pass." And I thought about it for a little bit. And what struck me is that it is such a phrase that is not Jewish at all. I was like, can we find somewhere in the Bible, can we find somewhere in rabbinic text where we're going to find this line? And the answer is no. It's not biblical. It's not Jewish. So I did a little bit of research, and it turns out that it's an ancient Persian saying. And it has been adapted, and people think that it is something to do with Western religion or tradition, and that it's found in the Bible, but it isn't. And I was wondering why this phrase sounded so antithetical to my idea of Judaism. Gam ze yavor, this too shall pass. And I thought to myself that out of all the parshiot that we could possibly be in, when I was asked this question, this one is perfect. Parashat Mishpatim is a parasha that is filled with laws, the minutia of laws, different ideas of what to do under every different circumstance in Jewish life, from abuse to slavery to marriage, to capital punishments, to civil punishments, to what to do if your ox decides to gore another ox. All of these small little different ideas of Jewish law, and they're all here. The contemporary rabbis say that if last week we celebrated Matan Torah, that the gift of Torah was given to us last week, the big beautiful Torah that we have this week, Parashat Mishpatim, is Matan Torah to all the yeshiva students. Because of all the laws that they get to study, it is practically the entire mission of Nezikin, of damages and property. But the whole idea here is that we have a system, a legal system, that doesn't have an idea of passivity. There's no concept of Gam ze yavor, this too shall pass. The whole idea of Judaism, the idea of us being together as a community, is that we pass through something together. If there's damage, if there's, God forbid, chas v'chalila, abuse, if there's pain, if there's anything in our community, we don't sit back idly. We don't let something go away. We hold each other's hands and we go through it together. The very word that we have at the root of our identity, if we're not Jews, we call ourselves Hebrews, Ivrim. That word comes from the Hebrew word avar, those who pass through. The idea is that as the sea split and we crossed the Sea of Reeds together, we became people who cross, who pass, who stand up for one another, who are there in times of need, who are there in times of pain, and who are there when we're naming children for celebrations. But Daniel Boyarin is a professor of Talmud at the University of California, Berkeley, wrote a book called Carnal Israel, which the whole idea is that while other Western traditions, Islam and Christianity, that there is an idea that there is some kind of power, there's some kind of idea of providence, that something can take care of itself, that Judaism is very focused on the body, on the here and now, on the earth, that we are, in our essence, Ivrim, that what we do together, that we have a responsibility for one another. And I think that it is incredibly appropriate that as we enter this Shabbat together of Shabbat Shkalim, the Shabbat where it was required that everyone would donate half of a shekel, that a famous rabbi known as the Shnei Luchot HaBrit, Rabbi Horowitz, who has the unfortunate acronym of the Shlach, says that the whole idea of Parashat Shekalim, of Shabbat Shkalim, is that there's beauty and that there's a mystical interpretation of the fact that people only give half a shekel. We don't give a whole shekel. We give half because we need help to get the other half completed. We need to pass through together. So on this Shabbat, I'm going to challenge us to think about what it means to be Ivrim, to be people that pass through together, that don't believe in an idea of passivity, that something will take care of itself, but that all of us have a responsibility to one another. And I want you to think about what it means to hold the hand of someone in this community, if they're in need, if they're hungry, if they're cold, if they're hurting, or if they're celebrating. And instead of donating half of our shekel to this morning, on this Shabbat, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes for 5-10 seconds, and I want you to think about your commitment, what it means to be a Jew, what it means to be a member of this community. And when you're ready to take the pledge of taking care of someone in this community or taking care of this community, then I want you to stand up. And that is going to be the shekel that we donate to this community on this Shabbat of Shkalim. For everything you do and for everything you are, Shabbat Shalom. May it be one of peace, may it be one of blessing, and may it be one of us passing together. Shabbat Shalom.